marijuana. You call it Igbo for Yoruba land.
You call it sensimilla, you can call it marijuana.
This one they will call smoke or eja.
This confirmed taba.
It's very easy to get. It's cultivated here. That's why we no longer call it Indian hemp. We call it cannabis sativa.
In Nigeria, its production and use is criminalized by local laws, yet it is one of the illicit drugs produced domestically. The reason it is secretly sold and used. Some wrap and conceal it in small pieces of paper to smoke.
Marijuana, Igbo, cannabis, or skunk, they're giving it so many names. It's actually illegal in Nigeria. The first thing to say is to let Nigerians know that if you do smoke any of these substances, you're actually engaging yourself in an illegal act. There are laws in the land that specified clearly, the penalty for smoking, which is about 25 years, the penalty for growing, which could be as high as even life imprisonment.
The fact that you still have the prevalence of marijuana, the availability, the accessibility of this mind-altering herb everywhere, despite the fact that government is talking about, arresting those who either grew them or use them, is indicative of a failure itself. It means something is wrong somewhere.
Government cannot be everywhere. It is we that can help ourselves. They are doing their best.
The side effects are numerous. They include addiction, decreased mental ability, behavioral problems, chronic coughing, red eye, dry mouth, and exposure to respiratory problems. What are the implications of these hazards on the future of the Nigerian youth?
As long as you are taking it over a period of time, you become chronically mentally unstable. That chronic psychosis now comes in, what you call schizophrenia. Then you now become a liability, both to yourself and to the society. Liability in what way? Of course, by the time you become easily aggressive, we see that in our youth nowadays. By the time you become aggressive, of course you might have to harm one or two people. And of course, because you are taking this thing, you have to have money. If you don't see money, because even you see that the people who are taking it are the youth who probably has no job, then pilfering starts, stealing starts, and all sorts of social vices.
A smoker, I will feel fine, walk fine. But some people smoker, you feel ugly, you cannot walk, they could die.
Despite the known side effects, why is the abuse still on the increase among youths?
They believe that the thing really doesn't harm them. They take it, they think they are much better than what they are before, which is to the contrary.
When I take it, I feel good, I feel all right, because when I take it, even though I'm not before, when I take it, I will just calm myself down.
They make me think well. Not be say the thing go do bad thing or the thing we no good, but they make me walk well.
When they take it, of course, they are euphoric, they become euphoric, but it might give them anxiety and all those things. Because they give them they are euphoric, they will want to take more. And at the end of the day, they become addicted to it.
Statistics have shown that Nigeria is ranked as one of the highest consumer of marijuana, in spite of the stringent laws put in place against offenders.
It is very, very common in this country. And unless the mechanisms are put in place to check all of these loopholes, we'll still be left with that feeling of frustration.
We advise them not to be taking this thing, and at the end of the day, they will see that they will become more useful than when they were taking it.
Be that as it may, all hands must be on deck to checkmate this abuse and its addiction. A stitch in time.
Hello there. Before the digital age, before the multi-channel universe, there was a time when the voice on the airwaves held the absolute trust of a nation. In those formative years, he was not just a witness to history, he was one of its architects. As a foundational broadcaster and administrator, Dr. Yemi Farounbi helped craft the very blueprint of African television. Farounbi understood early that a microphone is not a tool for vanity, but a sacred instrument for national awakening. But the studio walls could not confine a mind built for national service. So when the murky waters of politics called, many intellectuals retreated. He stepped forward, bringing the same fierce integrity from the newsroom to the political arena. He redefined what it means to be a statesman, a principled politician who refused to trade conviction for convenience, proving that ethics and governance can coexist. Some of his frontiers was the global stage and the academic world. As Nigeria's ambassador to the Philippines, he traded domestic debates for international diplomacy. Now, with the eloquence of a broadcaster, he taught broadcasting in ivory towers. Broadcaster, politician, diplomat, and academician. Democracy Today sat down with a man of many parts in the ancient city of Ibadan, where he settled after he switched off the microphone, not out of exhaustion, but out of fulfillment. Today, Democracy Today's Adebayo Bodori caught up with him in Ibadan, or your state capital, for an interview. Enjoy it.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. This month of May, the conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Starting May 4th, 2026, tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Premieres May 4th, 2026. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
With the kind of stance he took as a young student, one that is interested in a change in society, one that is interested at the voiceless, the abandoned, the neglected, must also have a say in the society, must also be catered for. When you tasted politics a little bit, did you receive a kind of a cultural shock? Because the kind of people you meet there, whether they share those ideas with you?
Yes, my brother, it was a shock. I was in progressive parties. I was involved with UPN, another group of action group. That was the most disciplined party that had cardinal objectives. I was shocked that I found people who were in that party that didn't understand what those cardinal objectives meant. They only saw the party as a vehicle for winning election. Not that they were committed to what the party believed. Not that they really understood. They just want a vote gathering mechanism. And they saw it, the UPN, or at that time, NPP, or PRP, or subsequently, PDP, ACN, ANPP, and so on. I found that politicians have reached a stage of decadence that they don't care what the party stands for, so long as it can deliver votes. And they don't care about how those votes are delivered. Whether you purchase it, as Bako said, as take this money for soup today and vote for me, and mortgage your future and that of your children for the next 4 years. They don't care. And that's why they can cross the carpet. It will be major news for a Labour Party man to cross over to Conservative, or in America for a Republican to somersault into Democratic Party. It will be major news. But here it's done. You're in a party in the morning, you'll be in another one in the afternoon, you can be in another one at night. Because nobody cares about ideology. Nobody cares about what does this party bring. What I call the vision. What's the vision of the party? How has it met Nigeria? Where does it want to take Nigeria? How does it want to take Nigeria there? At what pace? At what cost? At what time? Nobody cares. They just want to become president, governor, senators, House of Rep, State Assembly. That was all. Individual political achievement. Not because there were political goals. Even in the Second Republic, that nobody would not have respected Tatari Ali of Bauchi for what he achieved. He was everywhere. And the international world, UNESCO recognized what Abubakar Karimi did, particularly with adult education. It was treated as the best state governor in terms of adult literacy. UNESCO saluted him for that. I mean, there were hallmarks of what people stood for. If you came to a UPN state, there were things you expected. If you got to a PRP state, there were things you expected. If you got to an NPS state, you were expecting that they would be pursuing houses and agric. If I came to UPN, they'd be pursuing free education, free health, integrated rural development, and things like that. Opticom, having the best for the largest number of people. There were things they were committed for, but today, no. Nothing. It's just political association to deliver votes. And that is why there is no connection between the politician and those who elect him. He doesn't feel a sense of responsibility to them. He doesn't think that he ought to contact them. When you are thinking of election, America will soon be in midterm election. Those who are in Congress will be assessed on the basis of how loyal have they been to their constituency. How many motions have they sponsored that benefits or benefited their constituency? What are their constituency gaining from them? It is not loyalty to a Democratic Party. We've just seen in the last few days Republicans voting against a Republican president. And when you find out, those people are voting because they are looking at what their constituents are expecting from them. There's no loyalty to constituents. It was a shock that I was in a party literally committed to democratic socialism, which meant nothing to many people. That's what today, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other is the same thing. That's no different. They cross political party without loyalty, without caring about those people who voted for them. This is in spite of the declaration of the Supreme Court in Umehe versus Ameshi's case. That is the political parties that win elections, not the individual. But now they leave Labour, they leave PDP, they leave APC, they leave NNPP without consulting those who voted for them, and they cross over because it pays their own personal goal. I was shocked.
If you are shocked and the tendency still continue, we have seen in the last few months, particularly beginning from mid last year, people moving in droves into a political party. What do you think will become of our politics if this tendency is not caught and is sustained?
I'm sad because the Federal Republic of Nigeria is supposed to be a democratic country. And democracy has pillars. One is that there must be a party in power, which the dialectic theory calls the thesis. Two, in any democracy must be an alternative platform, an opposition, which in dialectic theory you call the antithesis. Without a thesis and an antithesis, you cannot have democracy. Because the whole essence of democracy is that the common people, the electorate, who are the people owning the country, must be able to make a rational, informed choices during election. They should be able to say between party A, B, C, D, which one should I choose? Interestingly, divine, God himself created left and right. Right and wrong. Good and bad. So God himself created a bipolar society where there will be a choice. But when you don't have opposition, then you have no choice. That's not democracy. The thought, of course, is that you must have a parliament that controls, has leverage, control over the executive. Because the executive can become excessively powerful. But when all of them become one member of a party, not because they were elected so, but because they crossed so, then you begin to have a parliament that is, yes, Baba, we have done what you ask us to do. They're not providing a check and balance. We've seen, for example, Trump, as powerful as he considers himself, we've seen instances that the Congress have put a check on his power. They just told him you've gone to Venezuela, you've exceeded your power. That won't happen here because we don't have a parliament that is independent and counterbalance. Then, of course, a fourth pillar is judiciary. But we have a judiciary that considers the executive the KBC. You know the meaning of KBC? You don't challenge him. We just saw in the last 3 days, Supreme Court, interpretation of the powers of the president in America, challenging it. In fact, sometimes the state Supreme Court say, no, this is a no-go area for you. You're exceeding your challenges. Your boundaries. We are not having that. And the fifth pillar is what you call the rule of the majesty of the rule of law. My freedom of speech, my freedom of association, my freedom of religion, the five freedoms, the four freedoms that President Roosevelt defined. And the most important freedom is freedom from fear. When you have banditry, you have terrorism, then I don't have freedom from fear. I can't even sleep. I can't travel at night. When you said you were coming from Abuja, I was worried. until I heard that you have arrived yesterday. Then I was at peace. When you start going back now, I'm going to be worried. Does he get there at the time you ought to get there? Not because there are vehicular failures, but because there are terrorists there. So we are losing the pillars of democracy. So we would be wrong to say we're a democratic country.
But there are those who are giving interpretation to it that, if I will use the word, they say it's for the fact that people are moving in droves into the ruling party is an indication of the fact that our President Bola Tinubu, is a games man. Does it mean that attitude does not pay us?
Now,
you seem to be laughing.
I'm laughing because I've looked at Nigeria since 1999. I want the people to be the deciders. When we did the first election in 1999, PDP won 28 governorship. APN won 6. If I remember very well, AMPP won 2 or so. By 2003, based on the people's choice at an election of whatever shape, PDP number of governors fell from 28 to 24. Not because people crossed parties, but because people voted. That is democracy. But when people cross party, because of some reasons, without reference to those who voted in, that is not democracy. You may say that is being streetwise. But that reminds me that sometimes in Western Nigeria, in 1964-65, there was a massive movement of the terrorized, intimidated supporters of Action Group into NNDP. And there was a collapse of the NCNC by a merger of the NCNC with the UPP to form the NNDP. And then they had this slogan, "You see my hand, you don't see my mind." A lot of those people crossing over don't believe in crossing, but they have no choice. Either because they are being intimidated or being terrorized, or because some people have captured power in such a way that the other parties have been decimated. They have been decapacitated. So you begin to see that you have no choice. Take, for example, the PDP that said we rule Nigeria for 60 years. Today, nobody will stay there to want to contest an election because you don't know what the umpire will say when you bring your form. Is it the umpire's choice of chairman who is signing your form? Or is it the umpire's choice of secretary? So you know today, if you want to contest on PDP, you're on your own because you are not sure that INEC that will assess and accept your document. Same with Labour. They won't know who is their chairman. Same with NNPP. There are rulings that have even taken NPP out of the hand of Kwankwaso. But yet, this Kwaniya movement believe they have a governor who is almost on his way out too. So, because the politicians are not committed to ideology, they are not committed to voters, they are only committed to themselves. So they look for the party where they are likely to get endorsed by INEC for election. So what happened in Osun State? The governor could not stand in PDP because I didn't know whether it is Wiki's PDP or it is the PDP.
Kabiru's PDP.
Or Kabiru's PDP. He was not allowed into APC because the hostile community was hostile to him coming to PDP. So he had to look for parties. I ended up in Accord. That is not democracy. That's not being streetwise. And personally, when I listened to my president, we were together in the original SDP, talking on Democracy Day, last June 12, saying that it doesn't matter if everybody drifted to APC. That won't be that they were establishing a one-party state. It will mean that those people want Nigeria to be one party. And I look at his antecedent. I look at the struggle we all had trying to have a sovereign national conference. The struggle we all had to have a autochthonous constitution, to have true federalism. I looked at the fight, the struggle he had, using the former vice president as the attorney general against the presidency of Obasanjo on the relationship between the local government and the state government. And I suddenly find that under that same president, who at least God, I believe, tries judgments against the federal government on the umbilical relationship between the local government and the state. That same president, his government went to Supreme Court and said that local government is autonomous of the state. And I asked myself, isn't that something called the Dillon concept that said that the relationship between the local government and the state is the relationship between a sucking baby and the mother? I look at his struggles then and I ask myself, what does it all add up to? All of us were talking of a rearrangement of Nigeria, which some people call restructuring. And I asked myself, does this rearrangement we are seeing creating a three-tier federation? What is that done? Are there 3 tiers in India, Australia, Canada, US, where we know they are practicing federalism? So this may be street wisdom to give him a second term. But is that street wisdom enduring in the interest of the nation? When Africa became independent, we said Africa needed a different understanding of democracy. And that in fact we needed one-party system. I recall the one-party system of Nkrumah, Mwalimu Nyerere, all of them, Modibo Keita, Amari Dioni, all of them went in for one party. What happened? It collapsed. Because you begin to find that you are assembling incompatibles. Ideologically incompatible, ethnically incompatible, ethically incompatible. People who are just running a rat race in the interest of their own interests. There's going to be conflict, ultimately. Then it will be seen that the better way to drive a political system is to let the electorate decide whether they want to have a one party or two party. Not that the electors with all reference to those who elected them, will abandon ship. It might not be the best for Nigeria in the long run.
Yeah, let's be a little bit into diplomacy, of which you're also involved in. In 1976, I think that appeared to be a golden era in
diplomacy.
Diplomacy. When Murtala declared that Africa has come of age, and they must, at that stage, be able to determine what they want and what they don't want. Several decades after, we are now receiving order from outside the country on what form our country should be. Trump is helping us to attack terrorists and bandits in the Northwest. We don't know where he will extend it to. As a nation, we seem to be clapping. Are you among those clapping for such developments, sir?
Nothing to clap for. You said it rightly. From 1960, Nigeria said that Africa would be the centerpiece of its foreign policy. But it was not active under the Muritala regime. We became active in deciding that the MPLA must govern Angola and not UNITA. We became active in shaping the future, political future, of what became known as Zimbabwe, in the choice between Joshua Nkomo and Robert Mugabe. We became so active that we nationalized British Petroleum to be able to enforce our own political views on the international global market. We became so active that Nigeria, that was so far away from South Africa, became recognized as a frontline state in the struggle against apartheid. In Mozambique struggle, Nigeria was there. In Namibia, we were there. Botswana land were there, not only in South Africa. It's on history that the greatest support that the African National Congress had in the struggle against apartheid, the greatest support came from Nigeria, financially, morally, and so on. It became so much so that when Liberia had problems, we pioneered ECOMOG. We manned it. We funded it. Whether in Liberia, but then in Sierra Leone, ensuring that the right things are being done. When we started talking about peer review and NEPAD, the ability to begin to moderate democratic excesses in some other country through joint platform of then OAU or later AU, Nigeria was there. But where are we today? We've lost the dynamism, we lost the energy, we've lost focus, we've lost relevance. Was so important that in international platform they expected Nigeria to speak for Africa. Now do we? Because sometimes now we show a lack of knowledge of the international dynamics. The kind of lack of knowledge that we showed that led to a breakage of ECOWAS, that allowed the breakaway or that stimulated the breakaway of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Just see what happened in Benin Republic. That people were imagining whether we're acting on our own or as an agent of a foreign country. Yes, you talked about us and Donald Trump. Have we managed our homes well? Do we need it, Donald Trump? Have we been able to confront the problem of terrorism and banditry? Have we been able to do that? We need it, Donald Trump. But we have not been loyal to ourselves. We've not been honest to ourselves. We've not been honest to this nation. I remember that Jonathan said he was even sure that some of those terrorists called Boko Haram at that time were not in his cabinet. We've seen acts of betrayal. We've seen a situation in the Chibok girls in which our partners then, which was US, said tomorrow we are going to tear gas these people, and when they sleep, we'll pick the girls. Only for them to get there tomorrow to find that the terrorists were wearing gas protectors, which means there had been a leakage. General Uba, Brigadier, phone base. I've been ambushed. I have escaped. I'm at point SY. The next is so, were terrorists. We have reached a situation in which the very foundation of Nigeria is threatened. ISWAP, Islamic State of West Africa Province, does not recognize the existence of Nigeria or any other country. The Lukulawa, which in fact is an offshoot of the Islamic State of Iran and Syria, operating in Sokoto State, does not recognize the existence of Nigeria. Because they believe there should be in place a pan-West Africa militant Islamic state that doesn't ask us what we want, how we want to be governed, and why we should be governed so. But government have been vicariously liable in some cases in which we have pardoned terrorists only for them to attack us again. We had openly confessed that in 2014 election, we invited some of these people to come and help us win election or make Nigeria ungovernable if we didn't win. We have openly said in Cairo that a particular set of people must not consider themselves homeless because there is home for them in Nigeria. We have reached a situation in which we begin to ask ourselves, are there people truly loyal to Nigeria? Who will truly protect Nigeria? Are there people who recognize that the main duty of a government is to provide security of life and property for its citizens? Are there people who are ready to make and create a situation in which even individuals can provide and protect themselves? Our criminal code allows individuals to protect themselves with the same level of instrument of violence that you are confronting. Section 25678, Criminal Code. Islamic tradition allows you to defend yourself because it says if you allow something to kill you, which you know can kill you, you won't get to heaven. So why is it that we are not allowing people to have access to weapons to defend themselves? Why is it that my president, who I love so much, who promised that on May 29, 2023, he promised that he will introduce a new security architecture, a new security doctrine that will be made Nigeria so peaceful that everybody would love to stay in Nigeria. We're still waiting for that architecture. We're still waiting for that doctrine. So it pains when people who don't have as much intellect as Nigerian now tell us they are coming to help us to provide peace. I was an ambassador of Nigeria to the Kingdom of Cambodia. Every time I visited Cambodia from my base in Manila, I was treated as a little hero. Not because of myself, but because of what Nigeria did in 1972 to help Cambodia to put down insurrection. In that year, we didn't send military. We sent Nigerian policemen detachment, and they put down the insurrection in Cambodia, for which the Cambodians and the king are still grateful to today. Police put down insurrection. Now we can't even take care of our insurrection. The country that sent troops to Lebanon, to send troops to Somalia, that sent troops to Congo, Kinshasa, as it was then called, to help them. The country that rescued Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa from apartheid, now cannot rescue itself. Sad. Very sad.
Do we need a fresh rethink?
A fresh?
A fresh rethink as a nation.
We really need a fresh rethink. We need a new commitment. I don't believe we are committed to Nigeria. We are in various ways committed to our own political dominance or relevance within Nigeria. We are not bothered about the 237 million people. We are bothered about what we can make out of them. You don't care about their life. You don't care about their feeding. You don't care about their housing. We all care about how do we manipulate this system to our individual benefit. We need a paradigm shift in our thinking process that shows a greater commitment to this nation than we have now.
But this Nigeria you are talking about, do you think they are conscious of their power? Their power to elect leaders of their choice. Their power to forcefully come out courageously to say, these are the people we want, in such a manner that it will weaken the buying and selling of votes. Or do we need a reawakening, a fresh reawakening?
I can't remember now whether it was Stalin. I think it's more like Stalin, who was reputed to have brought a shaking and started pulling out very painfully the leather. And after leaving that chicken bare with blood scattered around, and obviously in pain, he brought grain. That emaciated, decapacitated chicken followed him. When you pauperize a people, sometimes they lose the dignity of being a human being. So the ability to make a right choice is not there. The man who has not been fed for weeks gladly takes the 5,000. If I is grateful for it, because he knows that this, if he doesn't get that 5,000, that's all he will get from the government anyway. So it is the criminal pauperization of the people that had taken away their voice, their ability. Gone were the days we had a Center for Democratic Studies, organizing lectures. Gone were the days we had a political bureau. Gone were the days of a Mansard. When Professor Gardner would say, if you are a leader, lead well. If you are a governor, govern well. Gone were those days we are talking about appealing to the conscience of the leadership and the follower. We've abandoned all of those things. Those lofty ideas which propels the termination of the 28-year rule of the military. Those ideas, those hunger for the best, those hunger for creating a better Nigeria appeared to have disappeared. And that those who in fact were in the vanguard of those struggles are the ones in fact now perpetuating what we thought they were fighting against. But I always believe this. A country as large as this, almost 1 square kilometers inside, 774 local government, 36 states plus Abuja, over 350 ethnic units. They have multiple interactions that cannot be calculated statistically. When you look at the multiplicity of power that will ultimately be generated when these people wake up, because they will not always sleep. Nigeria will have forcefully to change. I wish we can do it peacefully. I wish we can make it inevitable for people to think that they have to force their way to have a say. Permit me to take a story from the Bible. We have the story of of Esau and Jacob. Jacob had usurped the right of Esau. Eventually come to the father. You mean you can't even have something for me? Then he said, the time will come, you will become powerful and you will throw away the bondage of your brother. Those in power now must begin to think that there might be a time that those in bondage today will refuse to be in bondage. And they will throw this bondage away, and it will lead to an overthrow of a ruling elite that does not care about the people. We saw it in France during the reign of King Louis. We saw it in Britain when Oliver Cromwell took over. We've seen common man becoming so desperate that they don't care about their life. I recall that a French writer, Sartre, says, there comes a time that common man will secure his own freedom, even if it will mean his death. We must not drive Nigeria to that level. Because if you drive your citizens to that level, they will be disorderly, they will be unorganized, it will be anarchic. We must provide a new thinking. We must realize that those of us who have been privileged to have been in power, who have been recirculating ourselves in power in the last 20 or 30 years, that we are not necessarily the best. You know, Ashebe said, those whom the gods have helped to crack their nuts must not think that the God cannot crack nuts for others. We must begin to realize we start as state assembly. Sometimes we went to National Assembly. Sometimes we become governor. Then we retire as ambassador, or we retire as senator. And in the last 25 years, we'll be circulating ourselves. I think we are the only one who have brain. Those who have been marginalized must remember that the eagle flying. Also remember that those on the ground are looking at him. So we must begin to change the system in the favor of the common people. And it is not difficult. It is not difficult because I always look at General Muritala. His past was not exactly exciting. But he became head of state. If you ask most Nigerians of that age, they will tell you it's perhaps the best of state they had. Because he saw power and began to use it in favor of the common man. He thought about their feeding. He thought about their schools. He thought about their new constitution and things like that. He was not a common man, but he was a common man who started solving the problems of common people. I think those all of us in leadership who are privileged must begin to use our privileged position to help these unprivileged people. We must become their spokesperson. They cannot talk. Speak for them. Help them. Assist them. How many people are we taking from the poverty market? When you read stories about China, and you are told that in a year they are taking about 90 million people from poverty. And then you come to Nigeria, and you look at the figure by the National Bureau of Statistics. It tells you that those who are multidimensionally poor, that the number is increasing.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
In today's global economy, information is everywhere, but insight is rare.
Because of the high rate of fuel, the cost of commodities, cost of everything in this country is high.
Nigerians cannot be made to suffer every time.
So, where do you turn for clarity? The right questions.
So that some of the inhibitions that are not making trade work for us.
The real answers.
Stimulus package must take a different shape beyond what we have seen in sharing of rice, sharing of money.
Nancy brings it to you on Moneyline with Nancy. Clear, well-researched conversations focused on what truly impacts you.
Is it that we don't know the number of MSMEs we have in the country, or we don't know where they are?
I don't think we can identify 40-something million MSMEs. The people are not.
Nigeria has the policy framework in place to be a leader on this approach. You can make farmers bankable.
Moneyline with Nancy now airs 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Weekdays, live on AIT. If it matters to the economy, join us.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, where the black gold continues to flow and fuel Africa's largest economy, where the line between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Oil, gas, politics, development, and community issues all are highly valuable commodities in the Niger Delta. How do they combine, and how can they work together to spawn a new era in the Niger Delta? Join award-winning ace broadcaster Mahmoud Felix Akuga on AIT as he probes deep to analyze issues in the region from angles never before explored. Inside the Niger Delta with Mahmoud Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
My name's Jung Bonjong. I'm the boss of this entire hotel. My duties include heavy lifting, spreading happiness, and driving fancy cars. I'm responsible for the area by the hotel entrance. And I officially moved into the sunroom. You think you can cut my share of the rent?
Say what? You're a maniac.
Most of the time, our lives are lackluster. And all the brilliant moments are what we call miracles.